Special guest today is Sebastian Noel. Um, he's a producer. No, he's actually the voice of the people. So we got Sebastian Noel, sportscaster for ProView Networks. And Sebastian, it's that time of year.
Yeah, no, this is it. Best time of the year, right? The regular season went by quick, but the playoffs are here.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this is, let's just speak before we start anything. Let's speak on Brian O'Neill. He's the one kind of the forefather of making this happen. And, touch on that for just a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as old as you guys, but from what I remember, Brian, and a couple of other buddies were in your office together one day, and you decided, wouldn't it be great if we had a seating and selection show, and then and then after that, you and Brian would break down these brackets every year before the tournament, and you would go through the brackets and have a show. And Brian was a good friend of yours. He was a very good friend of mine. He meant a lot to me. So when you asked me the first year after he passed away to do that, it was an honor, that's for sure, because I cared so much about Brian.
Well, no, it's great. And then, another thing, it's kind of funny. Henry T we used his radio. We started on the radio first. And we had a great following. I mean, we got a lot of people coming to it and a lot of coaches and stuff. So it kind of evolved to where it is today. But so let's get started. I mean, we got to break down these deals. A lot of people are ready to use me as bulletin board material. So let's get started.
Yeah, let's do it. I already got a few calls after our bracket show that coaches are not happy and using us as motivation material.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to start with the boys 5A with the brackets. Aaron can put those up for me, and so let's just start at the top and let's just go through it. Why don't you go through it for me, Sebastian? The 16 teams.
Well, the 1 in 16 is Volcano Vista and West Mesa. Obviously, West Mesa's had a pretty tumultuous end of the season, and so they drew the 16 against Volcano Vista there. I think we're pretty comfortable picking Volcano Vista there, aren't we?
Well, I'm going to say yes. Volcano's the team. I think it set the bar this year. I mean, maybe the last 4 years. I mean, this they're looking for 4 in a row. But yeah, I think there's no question Volcano, and then I think West Mesa's. Really they're happy to be there. I mean, they've had a like you said, up and down type season, and to get in is just a great honor for them.
Yeah, and that's a really young team, so maybe they're a year ahead of schedule, right? I mean, they start 2 freshmen and an eighth grader on varsity, and so that they might be in the picture for years to come. Coach Ural's done a really good job there. Leo is going to guide that ship, I think, in a good direction.
Well, I'll tell you now, we got 8, 9. I think this is a really one of the best. I know you and I went back and forth on this game if we were going to do this game or do another game, but La Cueva Cibola. I mean, I think La Cueva's a scary team right now. I mean, they when they play 32 minutes, they're one of the tougher teams in the state.
Yeah, I think La Cueva's really, Coach Orell at the beginning of the year, he would tell us and anyone that would listen, hey, we're going to keep getting better. I know it's rough right now, but we're going to keep getting better. And sure enough, he has, right? I mean, Drew Bramlett's done a great job in that point guard position. He's comfortable, doesn't turn the ball over. He's shooting it a little better. Hunter Butler's become their go-to guy. They got Cowles that can hit threes. Trujillo's been contributing. And, I mean, they have a lot of pieces. That's a good-looking team. They've given Sandia nightmares for whatever reason. They just match up really well against Sandia, right?
They
And
do.
so La Cueva's been looking good, but you know what, Cibola, they've had a really nice season.
Well, the thing with Cibola is they're up and down. I mean, when they play good. Okay, I mean they're as good as anybody. And the thing is, can they play consistent for 32 minutes? And I haven't seen it completely this year. So.
And I think what Cibola has that not a lot of teams has 4 big guys that he can rotate in and out. Right, they're all pretty interchangeable. Obviously, we know how good Elijah Martinez is. Right, that's one of the best scoring guards in the city. He can score
One of the top. Well, he might be one of the top guards in the state. So,
right. Yeah. But I think they're going to go as far as those other guys. I think the next evolution for Elijah now is going to be to realize he's got a good team around him. And so making all those young pieces fit and getting everyone going and contributing, I think it's a really tough test for them. La Cueva's trending in the right direction.
Well, who do you like?
Oh man, um,
Oh, yeah, first Siebel beat them by 3 points the first time they played. So just
right, they did,
they've
they
already
did.
had a one matchup.
I really like the way La Cueva's playing right now. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that they're in that 8-9 matchup, right? Because I think La Cueva could have gone on a little run if they don't run into Volcano in the next round. But yeah, as much as I like that young Cibola team, I think I'm gonna have to go with La Cueva.
Well, there's two reasons for La Cueva. One, they're finding themselves. Okay, they're starting to become the chemistry of the team. Everybody's knowing their roles and doing things, and then it's home court. I mean, I'm big on that. I know that you always say that as long as it's in Albuquerque, it's okay. But
Yeah, but
the
and nobody goes to La Cueva games anymore. What are those students doing? They don't even show up.
oh
So
boy, you're setting up a thing for the students. Wait till that this kid hits the internet. So
there's no home court advantage there. They've gotten some really disappointing crowds there.
well, maybe they'll show up in bunches now
I hope so.
since the voice of the people spoke out and has challenged them. But the familiarity of the gym is really what I look at is knowing, and that's why I consider a home court is you know the atmosphere and
Right.
you're more comfortable with it. So I'm going to go with La Cueva. In great season to Martin, and it's not a surprise to me if Cibola wins this game.
Yeah.
This is not a rollover game for this. I think this is going to go down to the wire too. This is going to be a very close, hard fought game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Now the 5-12 matchup, you got Oregon Mountain and Farmington, and I'll let you speak on that. I watched Farmington, and the times I've seen Farmington, of course, they played Volcano Vista, so it's hard for me to really get a real feel on Farmington. And then the other time I did, some of their players were hurt, so I really don't. I don't know if they're all there, as far as healthy wise.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely had guys in and out of the lineup. Landon Begay's back in the lineup. We saw them the other day at Cibola there. Um, that's an interesting team. There, you and I always talk about it. As far as styles go, Coach Chitty's team is really hard to get ready for because they're so patient. They run their offense. You never know who's going to beat you on any given night. It's a really good 12 seed. Oregon Mountain's got, I mean, remember they're a year removed from the championship game. They have Lenny Washington back, Venegas, Pack defensively. That's they've now some of their scores this year. I'm surprised they haven't. I guess the winning margin hasn't been bigger, honestly, in some games. But they did have I mean, they held Las Cruces scoreless for an entire quarter in the district championship tournament game. That's a really good team. Coach McBroom's done a nice job there. I think that's going to be a really tight game, but I think I like the Knights there. I'll take Oregon Mountain.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with you, but mine's a little bit different. The drive. I mean, you talk about a home court
Wow.
advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, the drive. You got it's 3 to 4 hours to Albuquerque, another 3 to 4 hours. I mean, that's a 7-8 hour with 8 hour drive to play a game. So, but Farmington's done that. I mean, they had to go back and forth with the district, but I just that drive it's just hard for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. You take that drive and get a win out of
Yeah.
down in Las Cruces. So far we're agreeing on everything. That's scary. Now
Yeah,
we're
it
going
is.
to go to the 4-13 matchup. I really can't speak on these two teams. I haven't seen Roswell or Carlsbad play. I just read the box scores and see clips of them. So I'm going to refer to you more on speaking in their behalf.
I just don't think Carlsbad has the offensive firepower to hang with Roswell. Roswell's a team that they punish you in transition. They punish you when you don't rotate. They hit open threes. They'll backdoor you. I just think offensively, Carlsbad does not have the firepower to hang with Roswell. I'm going to take the Coyotes in that one.
Now they played already twice, and did Roswell win both
Yeah,
of those
Roswell
games?
won those games. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm gonna. Hey, thanks for putting those up on the board, Aaron. But I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna go with Roswell, but I really don't have. It's hard for me to judge because I haven't seen them play in person. I mean, that's the only two teams I haven't really seen this year. So let's go to. I think this is a scary matchup. 3-14 for Sandia and Rio Rancho. I talked to Wally this week, and he thinks he's going to be playing like they did right before the Metro tournament. They played very well, and they seemed like they were getting it done. And they went on a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and he thinks he has it. He can put it together this week and go upset Sandia.
Yeah, I just think again, yeah, and I know why people think this might be a close game, right? Because Rio Rancho characteristics, they share some characteristics with La Cueva. They're big, they're physical, right? And that seems to be what gives Sandia problems, a physical team that can rebound. But I think La Cueva's a little better than Rio Rancho if we're being truthful, and I just, again, offensive firepower. Rio Rancho hasn't been shooting it that well down the stretch. Now I think if Wally can take that game and make it really physical and dominate through his bigs with Decker inside, then I think it stays a close game. If it becomes a guard-oriented game and it speeds up, that's just not a game they can play. I mean, I think San Diego will win that one pretty easily.
Well, I do. I believe they're going to win. I don't think they're going to win easily. I think it's going to be a good game, and that's one of the reasons I'm going to do that game with you. Next game, Albuquerque High, intriguing game here to me. Albuquerque High and Santa Fe. I mean, Santa Fe is a little bit on a downer. They lost in the district, and they've been playing very close games.
And that's alarming, too, for a team that starts 5 seniors to kind of hit the skids late in the district season like this. That's a little bit alarming with all that leadership there. Albuquerque High won the district. They're going to be refocused and renewed because they lost the district tournament championship against Atrisco. I like the Bulldogs. What I really like about them is their 2 bigs, which they don't even use that much, but their starting big guy, Ethan Etzel, he can score around the basket and he can step out. And then their backup, Bellamy, that comes in off the bench, I really like what he brings off the bench. Coach Barella's got a couple of big guys there. They'll be too big and too strong inside for Santa Fe. And then on the perimeter, I think they can they can hang with Santa Fe there. They'll be fine.
Well, I have to agree with you. I like Albuquerque High. I really believe that's a home court advantage. I mean, they're going to be the Bulldogs are going to be there. A lot of people are going to be in the stands and the fans in the stands. But I like Albuquerque High. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think this game is going to be
I agree.
This game could, Santa Fe this could be an upset. I mean, I'm just saying, I think Albuquerque High is going to, but this is a game that, of the seniors, and they have anybody that they all step up and they realize it's their last game. This could be one of the games that, if I look in the scoreboard the next day, I wouldn't be surprised. So, now we're going to the 7-10 Cleveland at Trisco Heritage, and oh, what a game! I think I know because I know you're great friends with both coaches, and what a matchup this is going to be.
Yeah, this is the one that drew the most conversation on our bracket breakdown show as well, right? And Trisco's finally healthy, but they're in there at that 10. I think the key to them is, obviously Latavius Morris is healthy, right? He can score at all 3 levels, but it's their other pieces. It's Casada, I think, it's the key that I mentioned that on the bracket show. Coach Heredia, talks about how they can't run certain out of bounds plays without him. They can't put in certain defenses without him.
Go through.
He's that important, right? And then Kadarius Sims is better. They're just healthy. Now, Cleveland, they have a premier scorer, Remy Albrecht, right? But they lost their big guy, Solomon Kegler. I think that really hurts them. Now, and we talked a lot about their role players on the bracket show, right? We got some feedback about that. And, so that those guys are going to have a big game for them to win that night. Now, don't count out guy like Bronson Cole, he's won a state title at ATC at his previous stop, right? But I just think this is the buzzsaw. This is the team you did not want to face in the first round. I'll take a Trisco.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go home court. I'm gonna go with Cleveland. Okay, it's hard for me to go against Coach already. I mean, Cleveland at home. I just. I'm gonna go with Coach Cole.
Yeah.
I think that they've been more consistent all year,
And they've been really good at home. A lot of those role players seem to play better at home. So that could really lean towards the Cleveland way as well.
And I'll be up front. This game goes either way. Okay, it really does. It's one of those. You could flip a coin and probably do a better job than you and I can do on this thing.
Right.
So the last one, Las Cruces and Hobbs, and tell you, Hobbs to me is a scary team. Because of the size. The deal. I know that you and I go back talking about them. If they had one more consistent shooter, then they would probably be one of them. They could be right up there with Volcano.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. I mean, obviously, you talk about the size with Parker Henderson. The one that I really like is Turubiatis. He brings not only the size, but the speed, athleticism, and the quickness. Their best player, A.B. Pena, that guard, right? He can shoot it. They run well. They run their sets well. So Hobbs is a really good team. They have trouble defensively at times, right? They get their guys in foul trouble. Las Cruces, though, is the team that I struggle to understand how there's a 15 in front of their name. I've seen them a couple of times. They have their district player of the year, Bird Navarez, right? One of the best guards in the state. They have a young big guy. They have another guard, Brisby. So I'm surprised. Like when I read that they didn't score in the second quarter of their district tournament game, it's a head scratcher. And then their box scores, low scoring game. I just don't know what's going on there. I mean, they're better than that 15, but at some point you are what your record says you are. So I got to go Hobbs.
Well, I'm going to go Hobbs because you talk about a six man. You go to Hobbs and play at Hobbs. You better. I mean, that's going to be, that place is going to be rocking, and it's going to be. And they're wanting wins. They want to move forward. So I'm going to go with Hobbs with that. Now we can just, we're going to just keep moving on because we're going to run out of time. We're on a roll right now. So let's keep it going. So, all right, now we're in the quarterfinals. You got Volcano Vista versus La Cueva. I'll let you speak first since I'm the CEO. Okay.
I'll make up some time right here. Volcano.
Just make it real simple. I'm going to say La Cueva's going to give them a good game, but it is Volcano. Okay, just make it. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. I mean, there's not a lot of argument. I think I don't know that La Cueva can play 32 minutes. I know that Volcano can play one quarter and then they win their game. Okay, they don't have to play 4 quarters. But okay. So I'm going to go with Volcano, and then the next one I'm going to have to really go on your pick, Oregon Mountain and Roswell, because I've only seen Oregon Mountain play and I hadn't seen Roswell play, so I really have no feeling on that.
That is going to be a fun game to watch because if it's a little more open up and down, advantage Roswell. If it gets into the half court, advantage Oregon Mountain, right? So at the pit, games tend to get into the half court, especially the morning game, which that would be a 9:45 game. Teams don't shoot well, it tends to get a half court. So that kind of has me leaning towards Oregon Mountain in that one, to be honest.
Well, I'm gonna have to go with you, okay? I don't have an opinion. I mean, I'm saying Roswell. Oregon Mountain's been there, okay. They've been there. Roswell hasn't been there, okay. So the experience goes with Oregon Mountain. So I'm going to go with. I'll just stick with Oregon Mountain, but I really don't have no feel on that game because it's hard for me to talk. Sure. Okay, let's move on to Sandy and Albuquerque High. This is going to be a fun game. I mean, I believe this is going to be a fun game. I'm going to make it simple. I just think Sandia has too many weapons. That's my thing with it with Danny Brown. And the thing is, will Sandia overlook and try to get in the finals and overlook Albuquerque High?
That could be the only thing that maybe keeps that game tight because I think if the game Sandia will be able to dictate pace there, I think Albuquerque High is going to want to try to keep up that pace. They can't. They don't have the horses. So yeah, Sandia.
Well, and then Leroy is going to use that. He's going to use that, put that on bulletin
I'm
board.
sure.
And then Sebastian. I mean, you were his
Steve
hero
said.
last year.
Steve said.
You were his hero last year, and now you're going to let the Bulldog Nation down. And
Yeah.
so when that game is, you and I are going to be booed. Okay, so if that does happen in reality, so all right, the last one. Trisco Volcano Vista playing Hobbs. I mean, excuse me, Cleveland at Trisco Heritage playing Hobbs. I think it's Hobbs. I just really believe it's Hobbs.
In your instance, you have Cleveland winning that game. Cleveland matches up really well against Hobbs, right?
And they beat them. They've already beat them,
right? I have a Trisco against Hobbs, and I have a Trisco beating the number 2 seed Hobbs in that game.
Well, I am from the South, and you got to represent.
Hear me out. I think a Trisco is going to speed that game up so quick. It's going to become so high scoring that their big guy is going to be forced to the bench because I don't think he can play at that pace. And I just think a Trisco is going to, outscore him that game.
Well, you better go watch it. I think these are going to be good matchups. I mean, that's the bottom line. I think that first day of that quarterfinals, and that's on a Wednesday, and I really believe get out there and watch them. But
let's do the Final Four.
Let's do the Final Four. Nothing against Oregon Mountain. I just think it's it's Volcano's year, but hey, it seems like every year they match up, and it's a tight game, and anything can happen in that game.
I don't think it's going to be quite as tight this year. I'll take Volcano there pretty easily.
So I will go with Volcano too, and then here's the big matchup, and Sandia versus. Let's just go with Sandia versus Hobbs. I 2 and 3. Some people, agree that they should be reversed, or whichever way you look at it. And I love Coach Ross. I love Hobbs. I'm from Clovis, but I truthfully want to see a Sandia matchup. I mean, I want to see I want to see the Brown brothers go at it. So I'm being biased and probably not fair on that pick.
Yeah, I think that Sandia Hobbs matchup would be a pretty interesting one. Again, that might be one of those instances where Hobbs thinks, "Oh, we can run with Sandia." No, you can't. Nobody can run with them, right? Like that's what teams they don't realize. Those 5 guys, that's starting 5 for Sandia. Their motor never stops. I mean, like in that tournament game, I think Zaire came out for 10 seconds, right? And it was amazing to watch those guys. They don't get tired. Thomas Adams seems like he never gets tired unless he's in foul trouble. Well, in my matchup, Sandia against Trisco, I think we're going to see that again. And those teams don't like each other. They might not talk about it in public, but guess what? I know they don't like each other. It'll be a great matchup when those two teams.
So you're talking about it in public, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Add a little spice to the pot, right? Those teams don't like each other. The last time they played, Diabate was going up for a dunk. He got undercut on a pretty dirty foul. There's some bad blood between those two teams. It's going to make for a great Final Four game. I think in the end, though, Sandia, just too many weapons. Sandia.
I agree. And I think, like I said, I'd like to see another Volcano Sandia game, and then let's speak on that game. I mean, Sandia's Volcano's the team to beat. I mean, it's no. I mean, what they've done this year, beating their district by the margin they have done. I don't know the teams dominated until the teams that Tasker, and maybe even Gilmore's team is about how they just really beat their district opponents. So, but talk about how Sandia, if they win, how they're going to be able to do it.
Well, we saw the blueprint when they played the first time this year, Steve. You and I did that game. In the first half, they attacked the rim at will, whether it was Gad Harris, Isaiah Brown, Thomas Adams. They attacked the rim. Everything was inside the perimeter. That may have caught Greg a little off guard. I don't know. Greg does such a good job running them off the three. Maybe that was his game plan. Who knows, right? They're both a lot smarter than I am. But whatever, it worked. And so Sandia had an 18-point lead that eventually grew to 20 right at the beginning of the second half. That's the blueprint, I think. You got to go that way. But then the problem is, second half, Kenyon's coming. And you can talk about Volcano being a great team. Yeah, okay. I don't want to take anything away from the team, but it's a guy. It's one of the greatest we've ever seen play high school basketball in New Mexico. And when his team needs it, he just took over. He brought the ball up every possession. He got every rebound. He got every basket. He doesn't miss free throws. So you got to take Kenyon out of the game. It's as simple as that.
Well, no, you said it, and you got to get him out of the game either by foul trouble or him having just the worst game. And we haven't seen it over a period of four. I really haven't seen him have a bad game. So, I with that being said, I picked Volcano to win the whole thing.
Here's the deal, too. For Sandia to be successful, they probably have to have about 10 to 18 more possessions than Volcano, right? And can they turn over Volcano that many times? Because when Volcano needs a basket, they throw it to Kenyon. That's an 80% chance it goes in. Sandia, they shoot a three. There's a 40% chance that goes in, right? So then it's mathematics. I just think, yeah.
What you're saying, Sandia's got to have, for them, everybody's got to play their A game, and they got to play at a higher level, and they got to surpass what they've done during the season, which that could happen. Okay, I mean they have the potential, and if everybody, in the past games, all their players haven't showed up completely to play the whole 32 minutes.
But Steve, that's a lot of ifs, right? And for Volcano to win, the only thing Volcano has to do to win is Kenyon has to tie his shoes and step foot on the floor, right? Like, we are talking about individual greatness right here. Like something that we haven't seen in a long, long, long time. The guy is going to have 3 Gatorade Player of the Year awards, 4 state titles. I mean, it's just, it's too much. It's Volcano. I think Sandia's time is coming. They're young. Their time is coming. This is the last year of the Volcano dynasty, maybe.
Well, I want to use the way you analyze things. How hard is it to beat a team, 3 times or, in 1 year? That's the other thing going against Volcano. Will they show up thinking that they're going to win this game? I mean, that'd be the only thing that I could see.
Yeah, and I don't see a Greg Brown team showing up with that kind of attitude of overconfident, arrogant. I don't know. I just don't see that happening, right?
Right, and we're going to run out of time real quickly on the girls' side. They start on Tuesday, get to the pit, this weekend, Friday and Saturday, pick out your game and go look at those matchups. But love to see a Sandia Hobbs finals.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see, Steve. You and I will see that game for sure.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming on, and it was great. And we'll see those bulletin board darts in this week anyway. But, hey, thanks for going and thanks for keeping Brian O'Neill memory alive.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Steve.